It's not the cheapest kit, but it is definitely a very intricate kit and it'll be a great build and look fantastic when it's all mounted up. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and today I'll be looking at one of these Great Wall Hobby 1/35 scale Zündapp World War II German motorcycles with the sidecar. Now that's quite an iconic vehicle. You see this in a lot of wartime films and also photographs. And I think it was one of the most common bikes that were used by the Germans at the time. So there were also the BMWs were used as well, but Zündapp is quite classic. They do have very similar designs of the time, and we'll have a look inside at what this kit is like. Now this is quite a advanced kit. You'll see that the box is quite big, particularly for a little thing like a 35th scale motorcycle and a sidecar, and I'll show you just how good it is with all the bits. Okay, so here we go. Actually, I should have zoomed that out a bit. You see the whole box there? All right, so we'll sharpen up that. There we go. So we've got the box art right there. Very nice box art. It's always handy to have this as a visual guide for doing camouflage and such. And then over here we also have the bromided in little ghost image from a real life photograph. Okay, so they describe it as a Zundapp KS750 with the sidecar. And this, as you can see, they generally had two people on board, one operating this is a MG34, which is fitted to this particular one, and also had room for a bit of stowage as well. Okay, let's have a look. All right, so there's quite a few parts, quite a number of sprues, which you wouldn't really expect for such a small vehicle, but let's go through each one of them and see what they're all about. Okay, I'll pop that on the side. All right, what have we got here? So we've got a whole selection of discs, and this is quite a common thing to do now for replicating a sort of treaded tire, is to actually split it up into discs. So when you glue it together, it has a very natural and sharp tire pattern. Okay, so we just take it out of the bags here. See that? There's actually 4 sets here. And there's some clear parts as well. So the clear parts have the headlight lenses, and then there's probably some tail light lenses there as well. Okay, and then here we've got the tires. You'll see the outer walls there, okay, each side, but each one of these is mainly the tread pattern that we're interested in. So they'll be sandwiched all together. You notice that they have keying marks here. So they lock into a particular point so that the pattern is alternating as it's going on. And then once it's actually all sandwiched together, you get a really nice tread pattern. Okay, so you've got 4 there, basically because you've got 2 for the motorcycle, 1 for one side of the sidecar, and 1 as a spare, which is on the back of the sidecar. Okay, so there's your wheels. So that already gives you an indication of how detailed this is going to be. And you've got all those parts just for 4 tires. Okay, so over here, what have we got? We've got parts of the sidecar. Just open this up and pull it out. Okay, so you've got quite a bit of framework there. All right, so I don't know if all these parts are going to be used. We'll check all those out in the instructions. So there's other sets of tires here as well. I'll say that these are from an earlier kit, probably optional parts. So you won't be using these, you'll be using the better ones that are supplied. These particular areas here, I don't know if you'll be using those either. So they look like storage boxes on the sides, but these are a bit chunky for this particular kit, I think. So let's move on to the next sprue and find out what that is. But you can see a lot of framework there for where it's going to be hanging off the side of the motorbike. Okay, from here we've got main sidecar parts. Okay, so it's quite recognizable. You've got the base of the sidecar here. Okay, so that's like the chassis bit. And then you have the sides. Okay, so the big cutout there, that's where you enter from the side. Looks like parts for a jerry can. They're the handles for a jerry can. You've got a jerry can here. You've got the some more stowage boxes. Another set of tyres. You've got the main frame of the sidecar there. This is the area where the axle is going to be for the wheel. You've got a mud flap, you can just see it there. It's poking out. There's your MG34 machine gun. So that looks like a seat. And then there's the front cover of the sidecar. You've got so many bits and pieces here. Okay, there's probably a disc brake there as well. You've got the leaf spring. A lot of parts, and that's only for the sidecar mainly. Okay, and then we come to the final sprue, which is quite a large sprue. This would be mainly the bike. Okay, so we'll open this here. Okay, so a very large sprue. You got the frames of the bike here. You got a mud flap, that looks like the rear mud flap, engine components. So a lot of engine components. I mean, it's very much like building a 1/12 scale bike with so many little bits and pieces. You got the heads of the engines, you got seats. They're the forks. So these would have had the floating forks. You've got the handlebars here, or more than one piece. And then again, you've got some more tires. Okay, so this would have been a kit which was just for the motorcycle kit by itself. It would have had the add-on of the sidecar. So there'll be quite a few spare parts you won't be using in this. And there's the other side. It's amazing how fine some of these parts are. There's no flash at all. Okay, so let's pop that over here. And then what else we get? So we get quite a bunch of photo etched parts. Now I might zoom in on this because there's little springs and things in here as well. Okay, so let's do the zoom. All right, let's just focus on here. Okay, so there's a little bag of springs. Really nice. Okay, so they're tiny as you can see, because those squares you're seeing there, they're 1 centimeter squared. Okay, so you got those. And then there's a whole bunch of these, which are photo etched spokes for the wheels. And the great thing about these is they're already been pressed. Okay, so you see that, how they actually got the concave shape to them. Now some other brands, such as Mini Art, they make some really nice bikes as well, and also Thunder, what is it, Thunder, can't think of the name at the moment, but I think you got the gist. Okay, so there's two different types here. All right, so there's two patterns, and they've all been pressed. The other brands, you actually have to press it into a former to get that sort of shape, but that's already done. And you can see that they've actually got the plastic on them as well. And that's something that quite a lot of companies are doing now. That makes it a lot easier to cut them out without bits going flying, because they'll be attached to the clear plastic that's protecting them. So you can see all the components here. So there's A and B type. So I think it's going to be enough to do all 4 of those wheels that we first saw. Okay, and that's there. So you've got 8 pieces actually. So you can see the zoom out there, but yeah, you got all those. So that adds to the finesse of this particular kit. Super fine spokes. Let's pop those back in the bag so we don't lose them. The springs go back in there as well. Okay, but it's not just that. There's still this bag here, which has got some photo etch and decals. So the decals are really nice and sharp. And then there's some brass photo etch. Okay, so what we've got? We've got some, looks like some latches. There's the center section, which is the welding or the folding section of the jerry can, German jerry can. And then there's, this is the panel which goes above the front mud flap with the registration number on it. And other little tiny bits, which I'm not too sure about, but I'm sure they're somewhere on the actual engine. Okay, slide that back in there. All right, let's look at these decals. Just slide that across here. All right, so you can see there's the registration decals. You got choices of there, rear registration as well. Some division markings. There's white division markings there too, which are going to be a bit difficult to see, but a lot of different options there. So very nice. Super nice kit for such a small little vehicle. So this would be great as part of a diorama, but as it is with a couple of figures in a small vignette, it'll be actually super good because there's so much detail in just the one figure that it won't get hidden away. Okay, so from there we've got the manual. Okay, so we've got the manual here. All right, you got a little bit of the history of the actual vehicle, and then we'll start with, open it up. We've got color guide here. It's got the GSI, Mr. Hobby, and also the aqueous numbers there. And then you have descriptions here for the colors as well. We have the legend of the parts, and as you can see, as I described earlier, you've got the wheels here, which you won't be using. You'll be using the higher grade ones, which are in multiple pieces, which have been supplied with this kit. All right, so construction begins with the engine, which is quite common with a lot of these motorcycle kits. So all the engine goes together. Start putting the wheels, so you can see how the wheels get sandwiched, and you've got the photoetched that gets sandwiched in between as well. And then that's all pressed together with the center section, and you'll have this really nice detail in the center of the tread pattern on the tire. This is where we get the framework put together. You've got the engine getting sandwiched in the framework with, well, these things had solid frames back then. There was no rear suspension. So you've got the rear axle that gets sandwiched in. All right, so that moves on to the construction of the fuel tank. You've got your exhaust coming out the sides, more added to the framework. Rear section here with the pannier holders, and then also the rear mud flap with the seat. These are all those little tiny bits for the engine, which we saw earlier. This is a detail of the seat going together, and you just see all those multiple pieces just for the seat section for the rear mud flap. You got the headlight getting put together with the speedometer. So there's another clear part which would seal in the decal for the meter. You got the front wheel getting its disc brake put on. You got the front mud flap with the registration plate, front forks. Then we move on to towards the end here. We've got the handlebars. That's a front fork sub-assembly being attached. You'll be able to glue these together so that the front forks will actually rotate. There's a little kick plate, and then we've got the assembly of the sidecar. The sidecar is quite boxy. You've got all those components here which I showed earlier. Got that framework on the bottom where the axle is going to be attached to. All the leaf springs. Spare tire gets mounted on the back. You've got the holding bar. You've got the little jerry can which gets mounted. And then this is the final assembly of the sidecar. You've got the wheel going on with the mud flap, spare tire, main tire. And then towards the finishing line here, we've got the attachment of the sidecar onto the motorcycle itself. This is showing all the connection struts. You've got your MG34, quite a few components there. It's got the snail type magazine going into there. And then we've got this version here. What do we got here? This is a tow hook. So this is an option part if you want to fit that on. So rear mounted tow hook for, so that's what we're looking at earlier. That's the actual ammo trailer. Okay, so you can use one of those as well. So you can either use that in conjunction or separately on the bike, or you can even just have that as a spare just sitting around. Okay, and then over here we have painting and then also your decal instructions. So there's another set here. So different divisions available. Okay, and that's it. So that is the Great Wall Hobby Zündapp in 1/35 scale with the sidecar. So it doesn't actually show, but it does show you on the side there actually. So on the side there's the ammo trailer as well as an option, which is great because it's not the cheapest kit, but it is definitely a very intricate kit, and it'll be a great build and look fantastic when it's all mounted up. So that's it. Zündapp 750, 350 scale with sidecar.